The flight deck had gone quiet in the worst way. 1 minute ago, everything was moving according to schedule. Now the catapult system had stopped working, and no one had answers. Pilots sat idle in their cockpits, waiting for clearance that wouldn't come. Engineers rushed from panel to panel, checking systems, calling out updates that led nowhere. Officers exchanged short, tense commands. Every second lost added pressure to a drill meant to prove they were combat ready. And then someone noticed the old man. Harlan Reeves, 8-2, should have been inside with the rest of the outreach group, sitting through a tour meant to honor past service. Instead, he was walking across the flight deck without permission, moving slowly but with a purpose. A few crew members turned their heads, confused. One or two frowned. He stopped near the silent catapult, looking at it like it was familiar. That's when Lieutenant Cora Mitchell stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You're not supposed to be here. Step back, now." Her tone said this wasn't a conversation. But Harlan didn't flinch. He just kept staring at the machine. 7 hours passed, and the catapult still hadn't moved. Engineers had taken the system apart 3 times, replaced key components, and rerun diagnostics until the screens blurred. Nothing made sense. Every readout said the catapult was fully operational. The computers reported green. No faults, no alerts. But the jets weren't launching, and no one could explain why. Around the deck, frustration simmered. Everyone felt the weight of time. Pilots grounded, operations stalled, brass growing impatient. Lieutenant Mitchell stood with her arms crossed, jaw clenched, eyes darting between tech crews and command. Her authority was slipping, and she knew it. That's when Harlan spoke again. Calm, measured. "It's in the breath," he said. "The steam rhythm's off. That's why it won't fire." A few heads turned. Some paused. Mitchell didn't. She laughed, sharp, cold. "You're just a visiting relic," she snapped. "This isn't some museum ship from your day. We don't fix problems with guesses and gut feelings." She waved to security. 2 men moved toward Harlan. As they took her by the arms, he didn't resist. But he did glance back at the catapult one last time. "Pressure's bleeding where you can't see," he said quietly. No anger, just certainty. Some crew members watched him go, uneasy now, a silent doubt forming. Maybe he wasn't guessing at all. Maybe he remembered something they'd forgotten. As Harlan disappeared below deck, escorted away without protest, not everyone looked away. One of the senior crew members, an older chief with a grease-smudged uniform and the kind of quiet that came from decades on ships, stood near the edge of the crowd, eyes narrowed. He hadn't said anything during the argument, but something about the old man's words stuck with him. Pressure bleeding where you can't see. It wasn't how younger engineers talked. It was how men used to speak when they didn't need data to know something was wrong. Hours later, while most continued running circles around diagnostics, the chief made a discreet call from a secured line below deck. No chatter, just a calm voice on the other end, Naval Systems Command. The chief spoke slowly. "We've got a visitor on board. Harlan Reeves. He offered input on the catapult earlier. Was dismissed." For a beat, nothing. Then sharp movement. Someone rising fast. Papers shuffling. "Did you say Harlan Reeves?" The urgency was immediate. Within minutes, the call had jumped 3 levels. "That's not a visitor," came the next voice. "That's the man who built the launch system you're using. He's the Raptor 12's father. His knowledge was never digitized. Legacy only. We thought it was lost." Less than 5 minutes later, the carrier's captain received a direct order. "Locate Mr. Reeves. Return him to the deck. Treat him as senior technical authority." The captain moved fast. No explanations, just fire in his eyes. When he reached Mitchell, his voice was low. "You sent away the man who wrote the playbook." She didn't speak. She couldn't. When Harlan Reeves returned to the deck, it was different this time. He wasn't escorted by security. He walked beside the carrier's captain. And the captain wasn't leading. He was walking slightly behind. Around them, the deck crew fell silent. No one barked orders. No one laughed. Even the air seemed to shift. The captain cleared his throat. "This man," he said loud enough for all to hear, "is not a visitor. He is one of the architects of the system you're trying to fix." From this moment forward, you will treat his word as operational authority. Then his eyes landed on Lieutenant Mitchell. You will cooperate. Fully. Consider this your correction. The silence that followed was heavier than a shout. Mitchell gave a nod, her eyes low. Harlan didn't look at her. He didn't need to. He moved with quiet purpose, stepping toward the catapult like it was a memory coming back to life. From his pocket, he pulled a small, hand-welded tool. Nothing digital, nothing sleek. Just metal worn smooth from decades of touch. He tapped gently along the frame, listening. Then paused. There, he said, pointing to a junction near the micro-bypass chamber. She's misaligned. Just enough to stall her. A junior engineer frowned. Sensors didn't pick that up. Harlan smiled faintly. Because machines don't feel tension. People do. He explained the correction method using simple, clear language. No jargon. Just experience. The crew leaned in, watching as he prepared to manually reset a system no one thought could be touched by hand. Reeves crouched beside the housing like a man listening for a heartbeat. His hands moved slowly, not hesitating, only feeling. He ran his fingers along the metal casing, pressed his ear against the side, then adjusted his grip on the old tool. No sensors, no monitors, just years of knowing what the inside of this machine should sound like. He tapped once, waited, tapped again, then a third time, soft, deliberate, aimed at a precise point that no manual ever marked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then it came. A low, steady hiss. It rolled out from within the chamber like a slow exhale, the sound of pressure equalizing deep in the catapult's core. Engineers froze. One of the screens blinked. Red turned to orange. Then, green. The readings cascaded into normal status. Steam gauges rose smoothly. Power levels synced. Lights shifted to ready. System is operational, someone whispered, almost afraid to break the spell. The catapult clicked to life. A nearby pilot was cleared. Deck crew scrambled into motion, positioning the jet. Reeves didn't move. He just watched as the aircraft lined up. A signal was given. The catapult roared, deafening, roar. Perfect. The jet launched with flawless acceleration, cutting the sky like it had waited all day for this moment. For a second, no one spoke. Then the flight deck erupted. Cheers broke out, fists raised, backs clapped. But Reeves didn't celebrate. He stood quietly, hands behind his back, like a man watching an old friend finally wake up. He just nodded, content. It was enough. Within hours, the story traveled faster than any aircraft ever could. Across the fleet, messages passed from ship to ship, base to base. An 80-year-old veteran had walked onto a flight deck, fixed what no one else could, and reminded the Navy of something it had nearly forgotten. Not just how things worked, but why. At headquarters, leadership responded with more than admiration. They launched a new initiative, the Legacy Engineering Program. Its goal was simple: preserve the knowledge carried in the hands and minds of men like Reeves before it faded forever. To lead it, they chose someone unexpected. Lieutenant Cara Mitchell, humbled, disciplined, and freshly aware of what she hadn't known. Before accepting, she sought out Reeves, finding him once again seated quietly with a veteran outreach group. She stood before him, unsure of what to say. "I was wrong," she said finally, "and I'm sorry." Reeves didn't lecture. He just nodded. "Machines speak," he said gently. "But so do people. Learn to listen to both." She carried those words into her new role. And Reeves? He didn't ask for medals or speeches. He simply returned to his quiet corner, smiling as the younger sailors walked by. Not because they now recognized him, but because they'd started listening. That was enough. Not every hero wears medals. Some carry old tools and quiet memories, stepping forward only when no one else can. Harlan Reeves didn't fix the catapult for praise. He did it because he knew how. In a world racing toward the new, his story reminds us that wisdom earned over time still matters. That listening, truly listening, to experience can save more than just a mission. As the sun dipped low over the flight deck, Reeves walked alone near the edge, the wind catching his cap, his pace slow, steady, unbothered. He didn't stand apart anymore. He simply blended into the crew. If this story moved you, give it a like. If you believe in honoring the unseen, the quiet, the overlooked, subscribe for more. And share this with someone who still believes that experience isn't just valuable, it's vital.